Today we'll be kicking off Season 6 of the Miami Marlins franchise here on MLB The Show 23. Last year we certainly had our ups and downs. We ended up making it to the World Series, losing in a heartbreaking Game 7 to the Tampa Bay Rays, which means we go back to the drawing board for another off-season. Today we will go through the opening portion of Season 6, which briefly includes spring training. We'll go over our roster battles and get through a large chunk of the first month of the season. So the offseason was by far the most pivotal one of this series because half of our roster was not under contract, and we had some big decisions to make with the future of this team, completely flipping the roster on its head. Going into the offseason, we had three very big free agents: Sandy Alcantara, Luis Robert, and Bo Bichette. All three players are gone onto new teams. Sandy Alcantara signed a 5-year, $150 million contract with the New York Yankees. Sandy's been great with this team for the last decade. He's had his struggles in the postseason, and I did really want to bring him back. I offered him more money than he took, but he wanted to play for a big market team, and he wanted to be the unquestioned ace. He's only going to get one of those things because the Yankees signed Alek Manoah on the exact same day they signed Sandy Alcantara. But for now, he will be the ace of probably the best pitching rotation in all of baseball. He was not the only big fish who we lost, though. Luis Robert signed a 7-year, $175 million contract with the Milwaukee Brewers. Luis Robert is an ultra-talented player who really put it together last year. There are still some concerns with him in the sense that he's only played over 100 games twice, and last season was the first time he really put the pieces together, but he was brilliant last season, great in the postseason, gets a big contract from Milwaukee. Bo Bichette will join him in the National League Central, signing with the Cardinals, reuniting with Gavin Lux in the middle infield, who's coming off a great season last year with the Cardinals. So Bo Bichette will be the face of one of the MLB's premier organizations for the coming seasons. For the first half of last year, Bichette was a National League MVP candidate, but he really struggled after the All-Star break. He got injured. The only playoff series he played in was the World Series, and he was not good, which is ultimately why I was a little more willing to let him go. Some other three agents who are on new teams include Jeffrey Springs, who is also a Milwaukee Brewer. Griffin Jax signs with the Texas Rangers, so they add a nice piece to the bullpen. The Rangers had a very productive offseason, also adding Adley Rutschman. Ha-Seong Kim will look to replace Ozzie Albies at second for Atlanta. Albies signed a contract with the Houston Astros over the offseason. And then we made some pretty big trades as well, including sending away Nick Fortes to the Los Angeles Angels. Fortes has been our catcher since Season 1, and early in this series, Fortes was a superstar. Seasons 2 and 3, he combined for nearly a WAR of 14, but he just hasn't been the same guy over the last two seasons. His production has gone way down. He's also had a hard time staying healthy, playing under 100 games in each of the last 2 years. I wanted to get an upgrade at catcher, which is why he was sent to the Angels in a 4-team trade for us to upgrade the catcher position. As part of that 4-team deal, we sent Adonis Takadopoulos and Yuri Perez to the Baltimore Orioles in order to get Grayson Rodriguez, who was later flipped to the Giants. The Yuri Perez experiment really just did not work. Coming into this series, he was the number one prospect in our organization. He ended up being a bust. I was really excited for him and Sandy to be at the top of this rotation, but now both of them are gone, now on AL East rivals. As for Adonis Takadopoulos, he was a solid reliever for us over the last 4 years, but he's just been a little bit too inconsistent for my liking, and instead of him, I went for older, more proven options in the bullpen. Despite losing a lot of familiar faces, we extended a number of players who were not under contract going into the offseason. Reynaldo Lopez's team option was accepted. Jordan Hicks was brought back for 2 years and $14 million, while Johan Duran accepted a 3-year extension for $33 million. Both Hicks and Duran have player options for the final season. As you'll notice, we gave out a lot of player options. Paul Sewald is back for 1 year, $2.5 million. Alec Bohm is back at third base, 1 year, $8 million. And then probably the two biggest and most important extensions go to Brian De La Cruz and Jesus Sanchez, who both have been on the roster since day one. De La Cruz signs a 3-year deal for $30 million with a player option. Jesus Sanchez signs a 5-year deal for $60 million, again with a player option. So bringing all of these guys back on new extensions is cool and all, but obviously the highlight of the offseason is going to be the new additions. Despite losing Sandy Alcantara in the rotation, we signed both Casey Mize and Luis Severino for basically the same amount of money. Mize and Severino have both been pretty solid throughout this series, and both of them are coming off of career years last season. I can't expect these guys to have low 2 ERAs again, but hopefully they can each pick up on the momentum they had from last year. Mize signs a 3-year deal for $45 million, while Severino signs a 2-year deal for $30 million. I'm hoping that we'll be able to have more consistency throughout the rotation, and it's not just the guys at the top carrying us like it's been in the past with Cabrera and Alcantara. In the bullpen, we made a number of big additions, along with re-signing some familiar faces. We signed Emmanuel Clase to a 4-year contract for $54 million. Going into the offseason, I knew I wanted to have a great closer in the bullpen, whether that was re-signing Johan Duran or going after a big fish in free agency. But with our top 3 free agents leaving, that opened up more money for us to have both Johan Duran and Emmanuel Clase, who has been the best reliever in baseball really for close to a decade now, and I think he will be worth this contract. Our big trade acquisition was catcher MJ Melendez from the San Francisco Giants, and we had to make a 4-team deal here to make this trade work. We were unwilling to trade away pitching prospects such as Robbie Jones or Tyrell Berry, and instead we had to get creative for Melendez, who is a free agent at the end of the year. It's a risky move, but it's one that I think could be a slam dunk. Melendez last year only played 77 games. He wasn't consistently in the lineup because the Giants have Tyler Stevenson, but in those 77 games, he was elite. 22 homers, he hit .342, 1144 OPS, and a WAR above 5. If he had played the whole year, his WAR would have been above 10. He would have easily won the MVP, and I don't think he'd be on our roster, put it that way. We also added Ketel Marte in free agency for some added depth. He hits lefties really well, and we need more guys who can do that. We're bringing the band back together from the Guardians franchise. We already have Jesus Sanchez and Camilo Doval. Now we add Emmanuel Clase and Ketel Marte. We also signed lefty Brett Martin. He's a solid reliever. He's been pretty good over the last few years with the Cincinnati Reds. So with that, we are now into spring training. The roster looks a whole lot different. And as I said, going into last season, that was going to be the last dance with the current core, and that ended up being the case. The roster looks very different, but I think overall we had a productive offseason in terms of filling out our holes and not overspending. We put a lot of eggs into a lot of different baskets rather than re-signing certain players for big contracts. So we have a few notable position battles, including the 4th and 5th spot in the rotation. Max Meyer is going to be the favorite for one of those spots, and then after that, it's a completely open competition with a number of our best pitching prospects. In the middle infield, Adael Amador, Aurelvis Martinez, and Khalil Watson will be competing for one spot. Chances are Jazz Chisholm will get most of his playing time this year in the middle infield, so we need somebody else who can start with him. And then in the outfield, we have 2 starters here with De La Cruz and Sanchez, but we need one more. Kevin Alcantara and James Wood will compete for the center field spot. Now, theoretically, Jazz Chisholm can always play center field, but that would mean we would need 2 of our young infielders to come in and play. I was willing to let certain players walk this offseason because I have a lot of faith in the young guys we have throughout the organization, and we're hoping that a few of these guys are going to be able to take the leap and perform well at the major league level. Let's take a look at the spring training lineups, and if you would like to skip through spring training and jump right into the regular season, there's a timestamp in the description. So basically, I want to play a lot of the young guys, players who have something to prove, something to show us, and once we get closer to the end of spring training, I'm going to switch out the lineups to have our regular starters play. That way they won't be totally rusty entering the regular season. The names to watch in terms of position players, certainly Adael Amador, Khalil Watson, Aurelvis Martinez, Kevin Alcantara, and James Wood. As for the pitching, very similar strategy. The 5 guys competing for the last 2 spots in the rotation will all start out as starting pitchers. This is what the bullpen is going to look like, and as we get closer to the end of spring training, we'll have our regular starters like Cabrera, Mize, and Severino pitch a few games. Again, that way so they're not rusty and they're ready to go. Let's simulate through spring training now. We have made it to the end of March. Nobody got hurt during spring training. That's a big win. What's not a big win, though, is our record. 10-15, second worst in the Grapefruit League. So as we take a look at our three position battles, starting with the pitching, there were very clearly two guys who stood above the rest. Max Meyer was not good, Gennaro Miller was not good, and Steven Alez was not good. So really, Robbie Jones and Tyrell Berry win the jobs just out of process of elimination. Now, Robbie Jones pitched pretty well, and Tyrell Berry was fantastic. Got to give him credit. In the middle infield, everybody played well. Adael Amador was phenomenal. He was our best player on the entire roster throughout spring training. But Khalil Watson played great as well. Orelvis Martinez was pretty good too. Not quite as good as those two guys, but still very productive. And then for the outfield spot, Kevin Alcantara and James Wood both played very evenly. Neither of them lit the world on fire, but they both look good enough to where I'm fine with one of them getting a big league roster spot. In terms of everybody else, some notable performers include Brian De La Cruz. He was very good. Jesus Sanchez played well. Gennaro Miller hit the ball well, at least. And some guys who didn't perform as well include Isaac Stu, who kind of struggled. Jazz Chisholm wasn't great. Woody Landry was abysmal. He hit like 150. And then in terms of the pitching, as we know, Robbie Jones was pretty good. Tyrell Berry was pretty good. Edward Cabrera struggled, though. He started 2 games, getting the loss in both of them with an ERA of nearly 5. Casey Mize pitched pretty well, though, so that's good, only allowing 1 run in 12 innings. Luis Severino, though, wasn't so good himself. And then the bullpen had some guys perform well, others not so much. The back end of the bullpen, though, was great. Duran, Clase, and Duvall only allowed 1 combined run between the 3 of them. Now it's time to narrow down this roster from 40 to 26. So we've got some tough decisions to make here. And based on the information we have received from our position battles, I think I know where we're going to go. So we're going to have 6 starting pitchers on the opening day roster. That does not include Gennaro Miller. He's going to go down to AAA. I feel like he needs more reps. He's been in the majors for a little while. He hasn't put the pieces together. And I think he needs more time in the minors. And Steven Alez will join him. Meyer, Jones, and Berry will all make the big league roster. Jones and Berry will be in the rotation. Meyer will start as a long reliever, but he will get to start some games as well. Andres Vina, I expected him to be a lock for the roster. He's going down to the minors. He really struggled in spring training, which is a surprise because he played well in some big playoff games last year. As for the position players, we had a smaller position battle for the backup catcher spot. That's going to be won by Austin Wells. Edgar Caro will go down to AAA. I was hoping one of Sabato or Poles would break out onto the scene. Unfortunately, that did not happen. Khalil Watson did play very well, and he will start on the opening day roster. So good for young Khalil Watson. I'm hoping he'll be able to continue to produce. Adael Amador will also make the opening day roster, while Orelvis Martinez will go down to AAA. I did not expect both Amador and Watson to make the opening day team, but they both played really well, and I think they each deserve it. As for our last spot, I was down to James Wood and Kevin Alcantara. Between the two of them, Alcantara was a little bit better. He's performed well in the big leagues in the past, so we're going to send down James Wood to AAA, and with that, we've got our 26-man roster officially ready to go for season number 6. Let's simulate into the new season. Our season opener will be at home against our division rivals, the New York Mets, who we, of course, played and beat last year in the NLDS. We're going to get through the early portion of April today, around 20 games or so. I want to move really quickly here through Season 6, and this is what the lineup will look like to start this season. We're going to need some of these guys at the top to step up. Isaac Stu hopefully takes a leap up. Kevin Alcantara and Adael Amador will both start against righties. Against lefties, we'll see Ketel Marte. And I'm really curious to see how all these young guys perform, like Khalil Watson, Kevin Alcantara, Adael Amador. I really believe in all of these guys. With the rotation, I mentioned that Robbie Jones and Tyrell Berry will start the year as starters, and Meyer will open up the year in the bullpen. This is what the rest of the bullpen looks like. Emmanuel Clase will be the closer. Johan Duran will be the regular setup man. So let's not waste any time and get this show on the road, kicking off season number 6 of the Miami Marlins franchise here at home against the New York Mets. The Marlins return home for the first time since Game 7 of the World Series last year, an instant classic game that obviously we did not win. Last year, we had a lot of ups and downs. Through the first half of the year, we were only a few games over 500. We weren't even sure if we were going to make the playoffs. We weren't sure if we wanted to buy or sell at the trade deadline, but we played really well over the last few months of the year. We rode it out with our core, and unfortunately, we were just unable to get the job done. But now it's time for a new season, new faces on this team. In terms of projections, Woody Landry and Jazz Chisholm are obviously supposed to have pretty big seasons. I'm excited to see these young guys, though, Alcantara and Amador, both on their first opening day rosters. Getting the start on the mound for the Marlins will be the ace Edward Cabrera. For the first time in his Marlins career, he is the unquestioned ace of the team, making his second career opening day start. Last year was a historic season for Cabrera. He won the NL Cy Young. He won the NL MVP. He threw a no-hitter against the Mets. He was dominant in the postseason with 6 great starts, 3 of which were in the World Series. Well, his season will not start off too well. Bobby Witt Jr. with a leadoff homer into right center, and the Mets are on the board. They lead at 1-0. Bobby Witt signed a 6-year contract for only $42 million with the Mets in the offseason. A lot of you guys thought the Marlins should have gone after Bobby Witt, and if this pitch is any indication of how his Mets career is going to go, well, maybe you guys were right. Witt was a disappointment with the Royals, only a career WAR of 2.5, and obviously we are high on guys like Amador and Watson in the middle infield. Brandon Marsh, signed from the Phillies, strikes out. 2 away for Brett Beatty. Rips this one into center. That'll go for a single. And the Mets get another runner aboard here with 2 away. Beatty was the Mets' best player last year. He's on the final year of his deal and should make north of $200 million. Naylor lines this one into center. Kevin Alcantara makes the play. But the Mets do score 1 here in the top of the first with a leadoff home run for Bobby Witt Jr. Here's a look at Mike Soroka getting the opening day start here for the Mets. Soroka has spent the last few seasons in Arizona with the Diamondbacks. He was acquired by Arizona last July towards the trade deadline by the Mets. Jazz Chisholm's up, 3-1 count, looks at the low fastball for a walk. Jazz is also a free agent in the offseason, expected to ask for north of $200 million. Here's Isaac Stu, rips this one deep into center field. Back at the track, it's gone! 2-run homer for Isaac Stu, and the Marlins take the lead. It's 2-1. Isaac Stu's final at-bat of his rookie year was a home run late in Game 7 to tie it up. His first at-bat in his second season is also a home run. The Marlins are expecting big things from Isaac Stu, who hopefully will take a leap up with some of the other veterans from last year gone. Jesus Sanchez with 2 away rips this one into the gap. That's going to make it all the way to the wall, and Sanchez is aboard with a double. Jesus Sanchez has consistently improved every season throughout this series. He performs well in the playoffs, and he has earned every penny of his $60 million extension. Alec Bohm chases the slider for strike 3. That'll wrap up the first inning. Both teams score as the Marlins lead 2-1 with a 2-run homer for Isaac Stu. Top 2, Thairo Estrada strikes out on the sinker. Great pitch by Edward Cabrera, looking to get into a groove after allowing the early homer. Here's the catcher, Francisco Alvarez. Down the line and fair. Alvarez is not the fastest, so he'll hold up at first with a single. Alvarez performed really well in the NLDS last year against the Marlins. And that'll bring up the shortstop, Francisco Lindor. He hits this one into left center field. Kevin Alcantara chases after it. He makes the grab, and Cabrera gets through the second inning, allowing a hit, but nothing more. The Mets offense hasn't gotten off to a bad start, though, all things considered, considering they're going up against the best pitcher in baseball, at least last year. Top 2, here's MJ Melendez. The newest Marlin goes down on the slider. He has great plate discipline. Not showing it on that play, but trust me, he does. That'll bring up the new shortstop, Adael Amador. Rips this one into left field. That'll go for a base hit. Amador has quickly risen up this farm system. He was great last year in AAA. He played 8 games at the end of the year at the big league level, and he performed really well before getting hurt. The reason why the Marlins were so comfortable with letting Bo Bichette go is because they really believe in this kid. Here's De La Cruz down the line and fair. That'll go for a base hit. De La Cruz starts the year as the leadoff hitter. I think he really found a home at the top of the order last season, and for now we're going to keep him there. Big at bat here for Jazz Chisholm. Grounds it up the middle. Estrada, diving play, throws it to short, and that'll end the inning. What a play by Estrada, making the throw, falling backwards. As it remains 2-1, the Marlins get 2 runners aboard and do not drive in either of them. Top of the third, Bobby Witt Jr. up the middle, base hit. Witt starts the game 2 for 2 on his new team, and maybe the Marlins should have paid him. I know Adael Amador looks good, but Bobby Witt's off to a fast start. Brandon Marsh, blooper into left. That'll go for a hit. Of the Mets' first 11 batters today, 5 of them have gotten base hits. Edward Cabrera really does not look like himself so far, and he's got to get out of the jam as he strikes Brett Beatty out. He goes down looking on the fastball. Big at bat now for Josh Naylor. 2-2. Naylor grounds it to first. Woody Landry will tag on the base. Good job by Edward Cabrera to get out of the jam. That inning did not start off well, allowing 2 early base runners, but Cabrera gets through it, and it remains 2-1. Here's Isaac Stu, leads off the bottom of the third, goes down looking on the fastball. Not quite as exciting as his first at bat, which was a homer. Jesus Sanchez tops this one up. That was a fastball right down the middle. He really liked that pitch, but he misswung it, I guess, and he flies out. Top 4, Austin Meadows leads things off for the Mets. He rips this one into center field. Alcantara chases after it, and he makes the grab. Nice play by Kevin Alcantara, showing off his range out there in center field. 2 away for Alvarez. Lines this one into right center. Sanchez after it, and he will make the grab. That's Cabrera's first 1-2-3 inning of the game. He's retired 6 consecutive batters, and he's starting to look more like the Edward Cabrera we all know and love from last year. MJ Melendez draws a walk, first of hopefully many this year, as he reaches base for the first time in his Marlins career. That'll bring up Kevin Alcantara, who grounds it right to second. And the Mets will turn 2. 4-6-3 double play. That'll end the inning. Both pitchers started off slowly, but neither team has scored since the first inning, as it's still 2-1. Top 5, Francisco Lindor leads it off for the Mets. Did he go around? He did. Nice pitch there by Edward Cabrera. That'll bring up Brandon Marsh. Can Cabrera retire the side again? It looks like he will. Marsh grounds it to first. Woody Landry tags the base. Edward Cabrera allowed the solo home run to start the game, but has not let any other runs up since then, as it still remains 2-1, and we go to the bottom of the 5th. Adael Amador leads the inning off for the Marlins, and he rips this one into the gap. Amador kicks off this season 2 for 2, as he makes it to second with a double. Both of Amador's base hits today have gone into the opposite field. He's a switch hitter who doesn't have a ton of raw pop, but he has good contact. He clearly can hit to all fields. As Jazz Chisholm's up now with Amador on third and 1 away. Flies it into center field. Should be caught, and it will. Plenty of room for Amador to tag up. The throw to home plate is not in time, and the Marlins are back on the board. A sacrifice fly from Jazz Chisholm to score the rookie, Adael Amador, and it is now a 3-1 ball game. Full count now for Isaac Stu, and that'll be a walk. That pitch was 1,000% in the strike zone. Bad call by the umpire. Mike Soroka gets completely screwed over because now he's taken out of the game. He'll be replaced by Mason Miller, who threw 150 innings last year with an ERA in the low 5s. We faced off against Miller last year in the playoffs, so we have seen him before. His first victim will be Woody Landry, who's off to a slow start today, 0 for 2. And I think victim is the perfect word because that was a nasty pitch to get him down on the curveball. And that'll wrap up the 5th inning. The Marlins do add to their lead, though, with a sac fly from Jazz Chisholm as we move into the top of the 6th. Brandon Marsh rips this one, 110 into right field. That is the Mets' first base hit since the 3rd inning. And with that, New York leads off the inning with a runner aboard. Brett Beatty strikes out at the high fastball. Good pitch there by Edward Cabrera, his 5th K of the day. The strikeouts haven't been coming in that quickly for Cabrera, as Naylor grounds it to second. Can the Marlins turn 2? Yes, they do! 4-6-3 double play. Chisholm to Amador to Landry. And the Marlins will make it through 6. After the first couple of innings, I didn't know if Cabrera was going to make it through 5 innings. Now he's showing no signs of slowing down. Bottom 6, 2 away. MJ Melendez flies this one into center field. That ball awfully high. Might have gone over the moon. and it is eventually caught. 1-2-3 inning for Mason Miller as it remains 3-1 going into the 7th. Edward Cabrera will stay in the game for the Marlins. He is on fire right now. Miami wants to get one more inning out of him as Meadows grounds it to third. Throw from Bohm is offline. And E5 for Alec Bohm, and the Mets start the inning with a runner aboard. With Edward Cabrera starting to get a little bit more tired, that's the last thing the Marlins needed. With one away, Alvarez strikes out on the fastball. Big pitch by Cabrera. Now against Lindor, the 1-2. Swing and a miss on the curveball. 7 innings of one-run ball for Edward Cabrera. His day is probably over. He's over 120 pitches. It'd be really irresponsible to keep him in, but he has been on fire since the 3rd inning. The Marlins are probably going to be tempted, but realistically, his day is done. Bottom 7, Kevin Alcantara leads things off. He's 0 for 2 so far. He hits this ball well into center field. Back at the track, at the wall. It's caught by Brandon Nimmo. I thought that ball had a chance to go over the fence, but not quite. That'll bring up Adael Amador, who's 2 for 2. Goes down looking on the low fastball. Great pitch by Miller. Brian De La Cruz nearly rips his head off. That'll go for a single into center. De La Cruz with 2 hits so far today, off to a good start here as the Marlins get another base runner. And that'll bring up Jazz Chisholm, who drove in a run in his last at-bat. He pops this one high and pretty deep into left field. Back at the track, at the wall, it's gone! Brandon Marsh unable to scale the fence like Spider-Man as Jazz Chisholm doubles the lead. It's now 5-1, his first home run of the season. That ball barely made it over, but as long as it goes over the fence, that's all that matters, right? Nice swing there for Jazz Chisholm, who's now driven in 3 runs here on opening day. And the Marlins have a commanding lead, and that'll bring up Isaac Stu. Crushes this one into right center. That ball is definitely out of here. Stu places the bat down as he homers for the 2nd time today. A big start to Isaac Stu's 2nd Major League season as he's gone deep twice here on opening day. The Marlins go back-to-back, and it's now 6-1. That'll lead to a pitching change for the Mets. The 6'3", 26-year-old right-hander Matt Allen is in for his Major League debut. His first batter of his career will be Woody Landry, who's behind 1-2. Pitch from Allen, and Landry crushes it into left. If it's fair, it's gone. Yeah, that one's fair, all right. Another home run, this time by Woody Landry, and it's 7-1. The Marlins have gone back-to-back-to-back. Consecutive home runs for Jazz Chisholm, Isaac Stu, and now Woody Landry. Welcome to the big leagues, Matthew Allen. His first ever at-bat ends up allowing a home run. Jesus Sanchez will draw a walk, ending the streak. Allen doesn't really want to throw to him, and to be fair, I don't really blame him. Khalil Watson is now into the game as a pinch hitter, his first at-bat of the season, and he pops this one up into foul territory. Beatty chases after it. He will make the grab. A big 7th inning, though, for the Marlins as they score 4. Jazz Chisholm, Isaac Stu, and Woody Landry go back-to-back-to-back. The Marlins were planning on having the bullpen of death come into the game with Duran pitching the 8th and Clase pitching the 9th, but we're up by 6. We don't need those guys to pitch anymore. Instead, it's time for Paul Sewald to pitch. Sewald back on the Marlins after a good year last year. With 2 away, Nimmo flies it into center. Boink! Off of Kevin Alcantara's head, I think. Doesn't make the play, and Nimmo is safe at second with a double. So the Mets have a runner in scoring position, and now Brett Beatty will look to drive him in. Don't ask Brandon Nimmo what he was doing on January 6th, 2021, but here on opening day 2028, he's scoring runs for the Mets. Now, New York still is down by 5, as that's going to be a liner over to third off the bat of Josh Naylor. And so it's 7-2 going into the bottom of the 8th inning. With 2 away, it's the shortstop, Adael Amador, and he will hit this one sharply to third. Naylor picks it up, tags the base, and Allen makes it through the bottom of the 8th, 1-2-3. Miami convincingly leads 7-2 as we go into the 9th. Brett Martin, one of the new faces of the bullpen into the game. Sub-2 ERA last year with the Reds as he looks to finish off the job against the catcher Francisco Alvarez, who goes down looking on the knuckle curve. Marlins win it here on opening day, 7-2. Your final score. This game was pretty close for most of the day. But the Marlins get a big 7th inning with back-to-back-to-back home runs from Jazz Chisholm, Isaac Stu, and Woody Landry to propel them to a 7-2 victory, and we will start the year 1-0. Good start here on opening day for Edward Cabrera. He allowed the leadoff home run to Bobby Witt Jr., and then the Mets did not score again until he was taken out of the game. New York's offense started off pretty well, but then they got cold up until late in the 8th inning where they got another run. Soroka was fine. He wasn't great. He wasn't horrible, though. The bullpen also was not great at all, allowing those 3 homers late in the game. Chisholm drove in 3 runs. Stu drove in 3 runs. Both of those guys played really well. The rest of the team, though, fairly quiet, minus Woody Landry, who homered, and Adael Amador, who went 2 for 4 with a double. As for the pitching, Cabrera was obviously very good. 7 innings, 1 earned run, striking out 7. And then the bullpen, they were good enough for us to win the game by 5. So a pretty good start to the year. We're 1-0. And if you're curious about Sandy Alcantara, he threw a complete game. So he did a little bit better than Edward Cabrera on opening day. I want to face off against the Phillies next, so we're going to simulate the next 9 games, wrapping up the series against the Mets. Then we play the Twins, and then we head on the road against the Mets again. Khalil Watson sprains his MCL. He'll be out for a week or 2. James Wood will take his spot. Wood only has 1 hit in 13 AAA at-bats, but I want to see what he can do in the majors. We only went 3-6 in the games we simulated, so we now have a record of 4-6, which isn't great. I will say, though, the biggest takeaway through the first 10 games is that Isaac Stu might be the greatest baseball player ever. Stu's momentum from his big opening day performance has certainly carried over. He's already homered 7 times. He's not in the MVP race, which is BS. Stu's hitting like 360. It's not like his average is much lower than those guys. As for the pitching, it's been a lot of ups and downs. Other than Edward Cabrera, the only other guy doing well is Tyrell Berry. Casey Mize and Luis Severino have both started slowly, and Robbie Jones has allowed the same amount of runs in 7 innings that he allowed in 26 last year. We're going to play this second game of the series against the Phillies. I want to take a look at Casey Mize, so we're going to simulate this first game. We win it 8-3. Edward Cabrera is now 3-0 in his first 3 starts, but we are 2-6 in games that he does not pitch. That's not ideal. Hopefully we can get that mark up with Casey Mize on the mound today for the Marlins. Throughout last season, it was pretty consistent that the Marlins won games that Edward Cabrera and Sandy Alcantara pitched, and the team performed worse when those guys were not on the mound. Sandy Alcantara's gone, and now that means there's even less margin for error when there's not a Hall of Fame pitcher on the mound. The Phillies currently 6-4 with no Bryce Harper today. He's got the day off. And it'll be Walker Buehler who gets the start. And so far, he's been fantastic, throwing nearly 15 innings. He's only allowed 1 run, whip barely above 1. He's been phenomenal so far for the Phillies, and we'll see if he can keep his hot start going. Brian De La Cruz leads things off. He's gotten off to a solid start this year, hitting .306 as he rips it into left field. That'll go for a base hit. Gets a knuckle curve just a little bit outside the zone, but he times it up well rather than potentially taking a walk. That'll bring up Woody Landry, who's played pretty well so far, singles it into center field, and so the Marlins get 2 runners on base here in the top of the first inning with a nice opportunity to potentially score. That'll bring up Jesus Sanchez, who hits this ball high and deep in the left field. Soto at the track near the wall, and he comes down with it. That ball doesn't quite have enough carry to make it over the fence, and the Marlins get nobody across here in the top of the first inning. Let's take a look at Casey Mize, who has spent his entire career with Detroit. In his first 2 starts with the Marlins, he's 0-2, allowing 8 runs in 10 innings. Hasn't pitched all that well. Hopefully today he can really pick things up, as the Marlins invested a lot of money into him. He strikes out the leadoff man, Trey Turner, on the fastball. That'll bring up Bryson Stott. Grounds it to first. Isaac Stu cannot make the play, and Stott is safe. This is Isaac Stu's first time playing defense all year. He was the DH in the first 10 games. Juan Soto strikes out. Runner looks to steal second. He's out. Double play. Inning over. MJ Melendez with a rocket behind the plate. Part-time ball player, full-time sniper. Good tag as well by Adael Amador, who will lead off the top of the second. He's been okay up to this point as he draws a walk. That's actually his first walk of the entire season. And so the Marlins get a batter aboard to lead off the inning. That'll bring up MJ Melendez, the other half of the big double play. And he goes down looking on the fastball. Nice pitch there by Buehler. Jacob Berry getting the start at third. He's played pretty well this year, getting on and off playing time as he rips it up the middle. That'll go for a base hit. The Marlins are getting runners early here against Walker Buehler. They got 2-1 in the first. They have 2-1 here in the second. Quite the opportunity back to the top of the order for Brian De La Cruz, and he's going to pop this one up into the shallow outfield. Should be caught by Stott, and it will. The Marlins have left 4 runners on base here in the first 2 innings. Not ideal. What's also not ideal is Rowdy Tellez ripping a tank into right field. Sanchez can only watch it fly. Solo home run for Rowdy Tellez, the former Marlin, with his first home run of the season for the Philadelphia Phillies, and they score first with a 1-0 lead. Alejandro Kirk, the catcher, looking to keep the strong offensive start going as he rips it into the right center gap. Kirk isn't the fastest, but he will make it to second with a double. The Phillies already with early run in this inning. Clearly they're not satisfied. They're looking for more. Dara O'Monahan strikes out. Yes, O'Monahan is actually hitting. I fixed the glitch where he didn't, play. Kyle Lewis goes down looking as well. That'll wrap up the second. Phil's lead at 1-0 off of the homer by Rowdy Tellez. Top 3. Here's Isaac Stu, draws a walk. The best strategy an opposing pitcher can have with him is just don't throw him strikes. And Buehler, smart guy, clearly knows that. Woody Landry hits it sharp to second. Can the Phillies turn 2? They do. Inning ending, 4-6-3, double play. And that'll bring us to the bottom of the third. Dominic Smith now on the Phillies. He's doing a world tour of everybody on the NL East. Is he going to play for us next year? Here's Stott with a grounder to third. Berry playing in, makes a nice play. And that'll wrap up the third. Phillies hold on to their 1-0 lead. Casey Mize has been pretty good with the exception of that second inning, while Walker Buehler is allowing a lot of base runners, but the Marlins are not driving in any of these guys. Top 4, Jesus Sanchez up the middle. Turner deflects it. Throw to first is not going to be there. Jesus Sanchez is safe with a leadoff infield single. Sanchez is now at second. 2 away, 2-2 for Berry. Got him looking on the inside fastball. 4 scoreless for Buehler. Berry wanted to wait for his pitch, and his disciplined approach proves to backfire. Bottom 4, Juan Soto up the middle. Base hit into center. Soto, arguably the most talented offensive player in our game, is aboard. Rowdy Tellez homered earlier, hits it sharply to second, and Jazz Chisholm completely misses the throw. Soto's going to make it to third. There should be 2 outs right now. Instead, there's a runner on first and third with an awful throw at second base by Jazz Chisholm. Kirk grounds it to third. Berry to Chisholm over to Stu. That's a double play. The run from third, Soto will score, and it's now 2-0. And that'll be an earned run against Casey Mize, even though it absolutely should not be. Dara O'Monahan goes down looking. The Phillies do add another run, though, off of an error by Jazz Chisholm, and it's 2-0. James Wood leads off the bottom of the 5th. Wood does not have a hit yet this year, looking to change that as he hits this one high and deep in the left field. Soto at the track at the wall. It's gone! Solo shot for James Wood. Not only his first home run of the year, but also his first hit. And the Marlins are on the board. It's 2-1. Nice swing there for Wood, looking to earn more major league playing time. Kevin Alcantara so far has struggled in center field. That's why Wood gets the start today. And if Wood continues to play well, he could take that spot. Buehler looking to rebound as he strikes out Jazz Chisholm. Filthy pitch. Isaac Stu rips this one into left center. That'll go for a base hit. An 81-mile-an-hour knuckle curve, pretty close to the middle of the strike zone. Yeah, Isaac Stu's going to capitalize on that all day. That'll bring up Woody Landry now. Buehler's pitch count getting high. Woody, did he go around? They say no. As you look at the bottom left, it almost looks like he did. Marlins get lucky. Count is full now for Woody Landry with 2 away and a runner on. And Woody's going to sky this one up into center. Should be caught, and it will. The Marlins do cut into the lead with a solo home run by James Wood, making it 2-1. Bottom 5, runner on, 2 away for Trey Turner. He's going to rip this one into the gap as Wood cannot make the play. As he gets it, he loses his balance, and that's going to let the run score. James Wood took such a sharp angle on the ball that he tripped as he got it. It's an RBI double for Turner. The Phillies now lead 3-1. and Casey Mize will be taken out of the game. 4 2/3 innings, 3 earned runs so far. It really should be 2. He got screwed over in the last inning by the previous call, but what can you do? Nonetheless, a pretty mediocre start for Mize. He wasn't bad, but I wouldn't say he was good either. He'll be replaced by Camilo Duvall, who has not pitched yet this year, which is odd because last year he pitched in 75 games, yet through the first 10 this year, he hasn't been used once. So this is his first appearance of the year. As Stott flies this one into left field, Brian De La Cruz is under it, and he will make the play. Both teams score here in the 5th inning as it's 3-1, and we move into the 6th. Griff McGarry is into the game for the Phillies, replacing Walker Buehler, who pitched well but was running out of gas. Jesus Sanchez will lead things off, and he looks at a fastball right down the middle. I don't know what he was waiting for. That was the perfect pitch. MJ Melendez swings and misses at the full count changeup as McGarry retires the side here in the 6th, and we go to the bottom half of the inning. Juan Soto goes down on the sinker. Good pitch by Duvall. Alejandro Kirk strikes out on the slider. So Duvall comes in. He records 4 consecutive outs as it remains 3-1, and we move into the 7th. With one away, it's James Wood up. Full count. Wood obviously had the homer earlier. And he draws a walk, reaching base for a second time today. Wood's a big guy. He's like 6'7", but he's pretty fast. Brian De La Cruz hits this one sharply into left center field. At the track, at the wall. It's gone! We're tied at 3. 2-run homer for Brian De La Cruz. That's his 2nd of the year. And the Miami Marlins are going to knock this one up at 3 apiece. Big swing for Brian De La Cruz, the biggest play of his season so far. And all of a sudden, this game just got real interesting. Jazz Chisholm's up now. He's going to take a walk. And the Marlins get a runner aboard here with one away. Griff McGarry is going to be yanked out of the game, and he's going to be replaced by newly converted relief pitcher Blake Snell, who hasn't pitched all that well so far this year for the Phillies. Here's Isaac Stu, rips this one into the gap. That's got a chance to score Jazz Chisholm as it rolls all the way to the wall. Rounding third, heads home. He is going to be safe. It's an RBI double for Isaac Stu, and the Marlins lead it 4-3. Why are the Marlins all of a sudden so good in the 7th inning? In the first game today, we scored 4. Here we have 3, and we're looking for more. Jesus Sanchez will line it in the left. It's caught by Soto. Big inning, though, for the Marlins. They score 3. They lead it 4-3. Reynaldo Lopez will pitch here in the bottom of the 7th. He hasn't pitched very well so far this year. 6 earned runs in 4 innings, so hopefully he can pick it up. Dara O'Monahan strikes out. That's a hat trick. 0 for 3 with 3 strikeouts. Kyle Lewis goes down looking on the fastball. And so that'll quickly wrap up the bottom of the 7th. Miami quickly taking the lead. It's 4-3, and we move into the 8th. Ariel Amador hitting from the right side of the plate now against Snell. As this one is down the line and fair. Another opposite field hit for Ariel Amador as it rolls to the corner. He might be thinking 3, but he's going to hold up at second. A leadoff double for Ariel Amador. And the Marlins have a runner in scoring position. Amador would advance to third the next at bat, and that'll bring up Jacob Berry, who's had 3-1. Hits this one well into right field. Smith at the track, at the wall. It's caught! What a grab by Dominic Smith, scaling up the wall. Now it's still a successful at bat as Amador scores off the sacrifice, and it's 5-3. The former Philly, Alec Boehm, comes in off the bench as a pinch hitter. Grounds it to short. Turner makes the play. Marlins add another run, though, as the Phillies bullpen has completely blown this game. And now it's time for the bullpen of death. Johan Duran will pitch the 8th, and if all goes well, Emmanuel Clase will pitch the 9th. In other words, GG, Phillies. Dobb Smith strikes out, 2 away for Stott. He pops this one up into shallow center. Jazz Chisholm will jog over to it, and he will make the play. A 1-2-3, 8th inning for Johan Duran as we move into the 9th. Andrew Baker will come out of the bullpen for the Phillies. He's allowed 1 run in 5 innings of action so far. Here is Isaac Stu, who's reached base in each of his last 3 at-bats. Will make another play. Rips it into the left center gap, his 3rd hit and his 4th time on base. Isaac Stu has been the best hitter in Major League Baseball this year, and it's not close. He's hitting for contact. He's hitting for power. He's doing everything. Can Woody Landry drive him in? Doesn't look like it, and that was the pitch to do it, too, but he tops it up. Shallow right field. Bryson Stott will come down with it, and Baker makes it through the 9th with no problem as it remains 5-3. Emmanuel Clase is in for the save. He's 1 of 2 in save opportunities so far this year. Let's see if the 3-time American League Reliever of the Year can finish off the job as he starts with Juan Soto, who strikes out in the cutter. I miss Emmanuel Clase's filthy cutter from the Guardians franchise last year. I'm happy I get to use him again. Rowdy Tellez gets plunked by the slider, and so the Phillies get a base runner. Tying run is up. It's Alejandro Kirk. Rips it into right. That goes for a single. Rough start here in the bottom of the 9th inning for Emmanuel Clase as he allows 2 early base runners. Tying run is on. Winning run is up. It's Dara O'Monahan, who is striking out 3 times today. Make it 4. What a rough day in the office for O'Monahan. And now it comes down to the number 7 hitter, Justin Crawford. 2 on, 2 out, 1-2. Hits it sharply into right. Jesus Sanchez is under it. He makes the play, and the Miami Marlins win it here in Philadelphia, 5-3. Good win here for the Marlins. We trailed for most of this game, but the Phillies bullpen blew it. We had a big 7th inning with Brian De La Cruz hitting a 2-run homer. Isaac Stu drove in a run. Barry added another one in the 8th with a sacrifice fly, and the bullpen did a phenomenal job. Our offense really struggled against Walker Buehler. We got base runners, but we couldn't score them. And then late, the offense really got things going. Casey Mize was okay. He wasn't, bad, but he wasn't good. The bullpen was very good, though, only allowing 2 base runners, both of which were in the 9th inning from Clase. The Phillies' offense started off pretty good, but slowed down. And then similarly, their pitching. Walker Buehler was great early, and the bullpen lost him the game. So with that, we've won this series already against the Phillies. We're 6-6, looking for the sweep. We're going to simulate our next 2 series as well, both at home against the Diamondbacks and the Giants. So Khalil Watson is healthy. We're going to have James Wood go back down to AAA. I know he had the homer and he played well in that game against the Phillies, but I don't want to use anybody else's minor league options right now. But if certain guys like Kevin Alcantara struggle, James Wood's going to come back up pretty quickly. Brent Martin, our new lefty reliever from the Reds, broke his hand. He'll be out for a month or 2. That's not good. So we're going to bring Andres Vina back onto the Major League roster. He struggled in spring training, but he's having a good year in AAA, and he has a pretty good track record in the majors so far. In our simulation, we ended up going 4-3, sweeping the Phillies. That's cool. We won 2 against the Diamondbacks, including a complete game shutout by Edward Cabrera, who in his 4 starts is 4-0. His strikeout rate is the lowest it's ever been, though. He only struck out 4 in this game, and then we lose twice against the Giants with Reynaldo Lopez losing both games in the bullpen. The most amount of losses Lopez has ever had in a season with us is 3. He already has that this year. Since he became a reliever, the most losses he's had in a season is 4. He's allowed the same amount of runs this year in 7 innings that he did in 42 innings. And if you go back to the year prior, he's only 1 run off. And we are in mid-April, so he's been a disaster so far. What's also been a disaster is pitchers throwing to Isaac Stu. He's not slowing down. He is still dominating. With other guys across the league slowing down, though, he is now the front runner for MVP. That's pretty cool. So in the next episode, we're going to wrap up April. We're going to get through a large portion of May. We've got some fun games on the schedule. Let me know if there's any matchups in particular you guys would like to see down below in the comment section. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Peace out.